Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Royal News Network live stream. I'm so excited to see you guys all here already, or a lot of people here. So, good morning. If you can't hear me, please let me know. I know for some of you all, it's really, really early. So, I know I really do appreciate it, but there's been a lot of royal news this week, as I feel like there is most weeks. So, this is just super, it's been a bit of a bummer. So, just to recap real quick as we're starting, obviously we know the title of Harry's memoir now. It is Spare, because he's still hurt that he's a spare. Something he can't control, neither can his brother control, but he's still upset about that. So we have that. We have still a little bit of a fallout from Meghan's comments about the bimbo, and of course we had the paparazzi walk of shame to help with her with her bad PR for the week. And then we have as well, Charles has been named Captain General of the Royal Marines. And then we have over Harry. And we have, just a couple other things, the state visit to Lithuania from the Belgians. And then we also have, which I put in the thumbnail because I thought it was really cool, is Princess Ingrid Alexandra in a surfing competition. And she is surfing in Norway. And I would imagine it's quite cold. So I give her mad props for that because I don't know, I couldn't do it. So guys, let me know. Definitely, I know obviously Harry and Meghan will be a huge point of conversation, but let me know what questions you have. Feel free to put them in all caps so they're just kind of a bit easier to find here. And I will just start. We just start at the top of the list here right now. We have Bongkoon, who says, sure, as soon as there is a grifter climbing his way or her way to the other European ones. Okay. Hazel asks, Hazel Windsor, are Americans falling for Harry's victimhood? I would say this is a yes and a no. So I think there's certain people who follow that same party line who love it. And I think there's a lot of people that are like slowly tapering off. I feel like Harry and Meghan, their kind of footprint within the media and everything is completely dissipating. So I just feel like that's something that they probably did not anticipate, but I just don't feel like things are going necessarily super well for them. And I don't feel like this book will help any. And I think some people too, people are just kind of getting tired of the victim narrative mentality. And obviously, if he grew up in a castle, like how much of a victim is he? I've been in refugee camps. I've seen people in immense poverty who probably wear the same thing every day, maybe have one change of clothes, don't have access to clean water, good toilets or anything like that. And, they literally make things, they get meager provisions and they have to make what they can. And so I just feel like Harry's complaining about his life is just, I don't feel like, especially as people are suffering more as the financial crisis kind of gets worse, I think it will. Most, CEOs and everything are anticipating a somewhat of a recession. Whether we're in one or not is for up to debate, but I feel like people will be experiencing real suffering, and I don't think people care as much about the suffering of a prince in his $15 million mansion. So Becky H, good morning. This American is not least bit sympathetic. Yes. Grandma 1447 says he should not have been allowed to use Prince Harry on the cover. I would at least he didn't use Duke of Sussex. That's at least to me a little bit better, is that he did not use Duke of Sussex. So I will say I'm okay with that. You said Grandma again says, hi from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Love this channel plus fashion channel. Thanks for all your hard work. Yes, thank you. So I actually have a best worst fashion video of this week to put up. I was just running behind and I always forget. I have to, primp a bit and get my hair and makeup all done for the morning. So I didn't get enough time to get it posted, but I will get it posted right after this. So I feel like my favorite of the week may be a bit of surprise. So what I'm doing on Royal Fashion News, if you guys don't know, is every week I'm looking at, it's almost kind of taking a model from like the Fashion Police on E that they used to have, which was fun, which is having people just looking at picking my 5 best and 5 worst looks of the week. That's generally what I try to do. Some weeks that's easier than others. I knew what my number one worst look of the week is, so you're welcome to guess on what that is. But my number one best, I think, would be a bit of a surprise. And we have a state visit coming up in Greece for the Dutch royals, and we have obviously state visit to the UK soon from South Africa. So we will get tiaras and hopefully some new jewelry worn by Camilla and Catherine. So I think that would be really awesome because Camilla's been mostly relegated, I believe, if I remember correctly. At least her tiaras used to belong to the Queen Mother and have never been worn by the Queen. So I would be interested to see if she gets into the Queen's collection there. I think that would be really, really interesting. Megan Small, thank you so much for the donation. You were so kind. Make sure to smash that like button, friends. Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, if you guys all want to smash that like button, that would be absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. Yes, I love these morning chats, guys. I think these are so fun. We may need to, hopefully we can branch out and make them even better. And I just need to figure out how to put things overlay so you can see certain things. But there's a lot going on because I have now 2 channels and still a full-time job. So my days are full. So Eileen friend, good morning from Seattle. Thanks for the updates. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for doing this, you said, and I do really enjoy the truffles. No Americans can't stand Harry and Meghan. Erica, yes, 7 o'clock in the morning from Oregon. Wow. So good morning, Ellen, Mary, Ella, Denise, Bonnie, Sharon, Jackie, Shelly. Good morning, y'all. Diane, Dorothy. Oh my goodness, so many. Fortune Cookie, Victoria, Catherine, Azuma, Twiggy, Jacqueline. Good morning from the Netherlands. Yes. Oh, I'm always amazed how many of you guys come from all over the world here. That is so amazing. Sola from France. I want to go back to France soon. I would really love to go. J.R. Irving, London here. Good morning, Germany. Tracy from Germany. It's 4 p.m. here. Yes, Susan, hello from Boston. I will be going to Boston in December for Catherine and William's Erstad Prize. So I'm really excited about that. Super, super stoked. So hopefully I can get some really good coverage while I'm there. Is 90% of the world news surrounding Harry and Meghan? So they do, that's a good question. This is from Gunta. They drive a lot of the news. They really do. And it's just kind of difficult to totally ignore it. And I feel like sometimes my impetus for focusing on them is, I know they're kind of telling partial truths. I know there's a bigger story out there that most people probably don't know because they don't spend as much time following the rules as I do. And I know that may sound bad, but it's like I'm just a real big nerd, and I always am really a stickler, kind of for the truth and the right information, because people can make their own conclusions. I always believe that, but I feel like people are better served with having all the information rather than just perhaps bits and pieces, or just sharing a bit of a different angle, because I feel like our news has gotten so polarized, especially here in the States, and I know this has happened other places too, that I just like to be able to share other facets that I feel like would be really good. So I'm trying to get Miss Pippa just jumped in my lap. If you don't know, Pippa's my dog, and I was going to get her all dressed up for you guys, but I gave her a bone right before the broadcast, and so she was busy with that. But now we got it. Yay. Oh my goodness. She's in her little Marie Antoinette costume with her Halloween collar. So very cute. Very cute. She's not a fan though. Especially when I put on the hat, there's actually a little I can't remember what they're called, but the huge hair they used to do, I put that on her and she's not a fan. But getting back to the news surrounding Harry and Meghan. So yeah, they do drive a lot of the news. I try to cover other royal news too, but people generally, they love talking about Harry and Meghan. But I always say it goes back to that car crash mentality. We like to see the wreck. We like to see the disaster. It's comical. It's interesting. And, because Harry and Meghan had every opportunity in the world and they seem to not appreciate any of it. So I feel like everybody's just looking at them going, oh my goodness. So I think that's part of the reason why they still generate so much news. Kenjo from Japan. Good. It's late night. Very, very late there. Alicia, Jenny, Wendy. Good morning. Mama from Canada. Katerina, Michelle, Azima asks, but Harry wasn't the spare since George was born. Yes. So that's kind of part of the contention surrounding the spare title, is that he's not really the spare anymore. Technically, you could say the spare is Charlotte. It's not, and Louis. It's not Harry anymore. And that Harry is still, obviously, that's like a huge thing for him, is that he does not like being the spare. And I get it. It's better to be king or queen. I was reading a book about Her Majesty, and one of the first things it said, it was, it's good to be queen. And I can't blame her. It's good to be the one in control. But I feel like the spares oftentimes as well have a huge opportunity to create a lot of different things that the others can't. And so I feel like Harry is, yes, he's not the king, but he's also not so restricted. And I get it too. Obviously, he would be subject to his brother in terms of being paid and his father for the rest of his life. So I understand a bit of that. Oh, I want to break out of that. But I feel like Harry and Meghan, again, if they wanted to do their own thing, a lot of royals are going in that direction. I feel like that's okay. But they went about Megxit completely wrong. They went about pretty much everything very, very wrong. And they continue to trade off the royal titles, which without really creating their own unique brand and showing us their own skills and talents and those sorts of things. They just do this and expect us all to be very impressed. And I'm not impressed. And that's just me. All right, Ashley Claire, thank you so much for the tip. And then looked ridiculous during the pap walk, and Harry's just digging himself into a deeper hole. I wish you and I could meet in real life. We'd get along. Oh, I would love that too. That'd be fun. I'll if anybody's in Boston, I may do just like a little see if anybody wants to go to dinner or meet up or something, because I think that would be fun, and maybe in London for the coronation too. But yeah, that outfit Meghan wore, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Why would you buy that? Why would you wear that? I thought it was funny. One of the Meghan's like fan fashion pages actually put up like a dupe, and the dupe looked 1,000 times better because it was a normal jumpsuit without like MC Hammer pants on the side. And oh, I did notice because I was looking on Royal Fashion Police, because they usually get the updates about what the fashion thing is faster. If I was able to do this full time, I'd be trying to do that myself much more quickly. I just don't have the time to do that yet. But the jumpsuit is actually called Montecito. It's like, well, of course she does a pap walk in Montecito. You need a Montecito jumpsuit to do a paparazzi's twirl. I thought that was hysterical. Marcia, good morning from Arizona. Yes. Barbara from Philly. Smash the like, Teresa. Yes, thank you. Cyril asked, what would Harry's future if Parliament passed a law in December? So let me just take a quick sip. I was told last week I took a sip too close to the mic, so I'm going to pull back. So yeah, I have hot cocoa. I'm drinking the peanut butter hot cocoa from Whittard's today. Very good. So if the law passed, let's say there's two things floating around. One is the Council of State. It sounds like, from what I can understand, the Council of State would just add people, would not subtract people. And I feel like they just need to subtract people. My impression is royalty should be seen now as a privilege, not a right. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can be born a prince or princess, and yes, maybe you can get a duke or duchess title, but that doesn't mean you get any perks associated with it. Or if you get out of line, those perks and those advantages that you have, some of them that can be stripped away will be stripped away. And that could include the title. Because I feel like you do need, in cases like Harry and Meghan's, a way to basically deal with rogue members. And that's one way to do it. Because that will happen, I think, more and more. And so I feel like if they could pull the titles, that would be fantastic. I think that's necessary. But counselors of state, they should just strip Harry and Andrew out of those roles. They don't need them. They're just there. Andrew needs to find something else to do with his life. I do feel bad for the guy because he hasn't been convicted of anything, but in the court of public opinion, he's guilty, so he just doesn't have much of a future there. That is of his own making, obviously. But Harry and Meghan, they're just loose cannons. They just need to be dealt with, and that's it. They just need to be dealt with. Just separate them, because every time Harry and Meghan use their titles, they're pulling down the monarchy's brand. So at this point, the brand association, because Harry and Meghan can't do their own thing, because apparently, as far as I'm aware, they haven't shown us any real talents that they've had. They haven't been able to get their, it took them forever to get a podcast together. And then it sounds like they already hate their own reality TV show. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? And somebody else is like directing it. So I'm like, what do you guys, and it's all about them, So it's like, and Meghan just like threw out there, it'd be great if Julia Roberts, I love romantic comedies. I love rom-coms. Let's just do a rom-com. And I'm like, well, you need to have a plan, honey. You can't just throw that out there in a variety interview and expect it to magically occur. I feel like I don't know, I just get an impression more and more Meghan is really vastly overestimating her own talent. She should stick to doing influencing. I think that's pretty much her level. But that's just my personal opinion. But yes, I think Harry's future, if they did strip the titles and counselor estates, based on what could be in the book, I don't know if there's a way back for Harry. If he goes, I mean, he could go scorched earth policy. And if he does, I don't think, even if him and Meghan divorce, there is no role for him. There is no role for him in the British monarchy. He is basically going to be told, I think, you're on your own. That's tough. Oh, Roxanne, thank you so much for your tip. Thank you. Love your channel. Great content without embellishments or sensationalism. Keep up the great work. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yes, I try not to go into the sensational route or to cover stories that I'm not sure. I usually always try to cover something that's in the mainstream media, at least been hit by the Telegraph or the Times, just to make sure that the content's good and that I'm not kind of going in that sensationalist route. Others do that, and that's fine. That's good for them. But I want to try to stick with kind of the facts as much as I can. And so I'm glad that you appreciate it. And it'll just be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. Lori Lane says that this is in reference to Harry's book. Just get at your library. Don't pay for it. That's what I would do. I was actually for the Finding Freedom book. I will only buy it from a secondhand bookstore. So that means that it goes to the bookstore. It doesn't really go to the publishers anymore. I almost got it from the library, and then I think things got too busy and I didn't get it. But it'd be just good to have a physical copy for reference. I could probably because I got a digital copy of the Tom Bauer book because I said I was going to review it. So maybe I could reach out to the publisher. Maybe they'd give me a digital copy to review, so I don't have to actually buy it. I'll do the same for Harry's. I need to do that for Valentine Lowe's book and stuff, but it's been so busy. So it's been the idea of trying to find a time to read a book is a little overwhelming, but also would be a lot of fun too. I love reading. I have a whole royal book collection because mentioned this before, always want to start a book club, but it's just a lot right now, but hopefully sometime soon. Good morning, Marguerite from Melbourne, Australia. So many people. Okay, go back. Diane Claire asked, how much longer will King Charles allow the grifters to have titles? I think he'll wait and see what's in the memoir. If the memoir is as bad as it could be, I think their titles are donezo. And again, they just pull down the brand of the monarchy. And I think they would go full bore and say, you know what? Not only do you not, Harry can go by Prince Harry, but Meghan can't go by Princess Harry. That would be her technical title, could be Princess Harry. They may be able to say, that's something you're not allowed to use. I don't know if that's actually possible or not. That's a huge question, I think, but I would say that's probably a good thing. And Matthew said, hi, Brittany. My pup says hello to your pup. Oh, good morning from Michigan. Good morning. Yes, Pippa says hello. She's in her dress, and she's probably not very happy. But I had another costume that's a kissing booth costume because she really likes to lick people and give you kisses. But I put that on her, and she freezes, and she acts like she's dying. So if you ever seen a dog do that, it's like hysterical. And they just look at you with this face of, why are you doing this to me? Why are you torturing me? I shouldn't laugh, but it is funny. Cindy Lou asks, is Meghan feeding his victimhood mentality to keep in her web? I think she is. Honestly, I think looking back at their lives, things could have been so different. And I think a better woman would have helped. I don't know if I should say better woman that way, but I think a woman who would have encouraged, said, I'm fine with being, the spare. Let's make the best of this. We can make this work, lifting him up. He kind of chose the person, I think, that pulls on his kind of, and magnifies his kind of worst instincts, I think, sadly. So I just think that's kind of sad. Lori Shelley, thank you so much for the tip. A part of me thinks Harry's so angry because he knows he's wrong and he's trapped in a different kind of prison. Love your channel. You're my go-to on YouTube. Oh, thank you. Yes, I would agree that Harry is trapped. And if he leaves and goes back to the monarchy, he has to admit that basically everybody was right. His father, I think Charles was a little bit, Meghan is able to kind of spin a web around men, I think, much easier than women. I don't think women I think women see right through her the vast majority of the time. I think it's men who are kind of like a little, yeah, maybe. But Camilla wasn't fooled in the slightest. I don't think Kate was. I think Kate was, just a genuine person trying to be nice. I think William saw right through her. Most of Harry's friends saw right through her. And so if he admits divorce and if he goes back home, he has to admit that basically everybody in his entire life was right about Meghan. And that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. And he's basically got to admit publicly that, yeah, he was swindled. And that's hard for a guy to do. I think it's easier for a woman to do, but I think that's really hard for a guy, especially because Harry went so full tilt on Meghan that this thing is going to go sideways. I think it's really sad for him, because I don't feel like he'll be in a great place mentally. Because I think he struggles with that. So I do feel sorry for him. Kristen asks, why has Meghan's extended effort to heal the rift with the royals not to her dad and sister? Because her dad and sister don't get her anything. That's at the end of the day. Meghan appears everything seems to be for her own gain in one way or another. It does. So I don't know. That's what she does. So I don't think she cares. Because I don't know, you'd think she'd try at least. And granted, I think it's true that she probably did to somewhat to an extent feel like an only child, but she wasn't. So she shouldn't have said, well, I was an only child when she wasn't. She should have said, I felt sometimes like I was an only child because my siblings were older, because she's in a lawsuit with her sister over that. But it's just one of those kind of sad things. Hi, Bella. All right. Helping the dog get on the couch. My sister's dog. So Michelle asks, are you coming to Indiana to cover Meghan's talk with the Indiana Women's Organization? How many things they'll pay her, and why do they want to hear from her? So I will not be coming to Indiana, not because I wouldn't mind visiting Indiana. That would be awesome. But I don't have really the time to do that. And they wouldn't probably let me in. And I'm not willing to spend $5,000 to sit at a table near and listen to Meghan. Although that would be fascinating. That would be really interesting to hear. And you have to get you have to either prove you have the COVID vaccine. I think I've lost my vaccine card somewhere. Or you have to take a negative test. And I was like, I remember looking at that going, I thought this was mostly over now, but apparently not. But I don't know how much they're paying, but they can't be paying her that much. Those tables are only $5,000. That's not that much, really. And I saw a picture and it was fleeting of the ballroom. So I don't feel like, because I feel like her fee would be 6-7 figures. And she'd want a private jet. She needs her Dior bathrobe, because that was one of the stipulations in the Tom Bower book. She really likes Dior and she wants a Dior bathrobe. She wanted a Dior bathrobe. And so I just can't see how much, like, they can't be paying her that much unless they have deeper pockets somewhere else. Like, I can't see them paying her in the high 6 figures. It'd be one thing if the tables were like 20-25 grand, sure, but they're $5,000, and you have to be, and it's a fundraising effort, I'm sure, on part of it. So you want to actually raise money. So you have to factor in the cost of the speaker, but also you have to make sure to actually it makes enough so you can justify actually having the event. So I don't know. I don't know how much they're paying her, but they really can't be paying her that much. But I think it's funny she's going to a flyover state. So flyover states, if you don't live in the United States. So they say, especially for the uber liberal, like kind of Meghan is that, they think of the coast. So they're in California or New York, and they travel in between in the flyover state. So basically the rest of the country, they don't know and they don't care about. And Indiana is a conservative state. I believe former Vice President Mike Pence was the governor of Indiana. I think it was Indiana. So it's a pretty conservative state. So I'm just surprised she's going there. And I just think it's kind of interesting, but it'll be interesting to see. Did Charles invite the Harkles to Christmas? Why? Well, again, I feel like the monarchy is playing them well and going, if you look back at this, who's the one who's been trying to give the olive branch the entire time? The royals. The royals have been nothing but classy throughout this whole thing. Harry and Meghan look like the disasters that they are. So I think it was smart to invite them, because, again, it looks like they're not excluding them, but they knew pretty much that Harry and Meghan would decline the invitation. And again, you have to think, Charles is a grandfather. He wants to see his grandchildren, and Harry and Meghan won't bring their grandkids. They won't bring their kids. They won't allow the kids to interact with anyone. And so it's just weird and creepy and just utterly strange in my opinion. This whole argument that I don't know what they're trying to use, but I don't know. None of it's good, I don't think. So Marcia says, Brittany, you're the only reason why I wake up early on Saturday mornings. I would say honestly the same thing. I'd probably sleep more if I could. Yeah. So, and just going through here real quick. Samantha here. Hi, Brittany. Sam here. Replied to yesterday. Brilliant live chat. Your work is exemplary as usual. Hope to hear from you soon. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Okay. Have you listened to Princess Eugenie's podcast, Floodlight? It's really good and actually educating, giving people a voice and a platform to talk about their experience. I haven't listened to that, and I really should, because I do feel like it seems like excellent. It's talking about human trafficking. I've actually spoken with victims of human trafficking before, and so that would be, it definitely needs to be a podcast that I listen to. I just happen to be, I really enjoy listening to the true crime, so I think I'll have to pull that one up too, because sometimes I run out of things to listen to. Morning from Chicago, Ritz. Is Her Royal Highness Pippa co-hosting today? She's in her Marie Antoinette costume. If you haven't seen, she's right over here on my side. She's embarrassed by the costume because, dogs always get embarrassed by their costumes, even though they look so cute. They're just not a fan. Grandma 1447 says, oh, thank you so much for the tip. I would not spend a cent on the book to help pay for Harry and Meghan to live in Montecito. Do you think all of it is just PR? I think some of it I think a lot of stuff is PR with Harry and Meghan. And it's just one of those things where, do you think all of this is just for PR? I think a lot of it could be. And they just do so much, and so much of what they do. And what I found really interesting about the Tom Bower book is that it kind of became evident that as soon as Meghan had a bank account, she was shoving money into Sunshine Sacks to promote the heck out of her. So she does a lot of self-promotion, but not actual action. She's not actually doing much. She's not really saying much. She's saying it with great conviction. As if she was explaining to you the mysteries of the universe, when she's just kind of talking a bunch of hot air. But I feel like Meghan is just all about PR and self-promotion. I feel like that's where her and Harry are that's why they're floundering so much, because after a while, especially on as big as this stage they are, they need to actually do something. You can have the best PR in the world, but if you're not acting in anything, if you're not directing anything, if you're not producing anything, who cares after a while? Because then it just seems like a bunch of PR and, very much an influencer. I feel like really that's Meghan's speed, is being an influencer. And I don't know why she doesn't lean on that a bit more. But yeah, I would not spend a cent on Harry's book for sure. Because again, even though they say, oh, hey, it's going to charity, I just don't trust their charity stuff, because they always make a big stink about giving like a very little amount to charity. So it always makes me go, how much are you really giving? I'm not sure. I just don't know where the money is going, and I don't trust them enough to give them money, because I don't know if it'll go to the right people, if it'll go to the right things. And that's a huge thing for a nonprofit, is people want to know where their money is going. And if you don't, then I totally understand. So Maret asked, what is the name of your fashion channel? So it's called Royal Fashion News. So the icon, I need to change it to burgundy, but it's kind of an off-white icon. And it looks just like the Royal News Network one, but it says Royal Fashion News instead. So I will be, every week I do kind of the best and worst look of the week. I have a TR Tuesdays, and I'm going to be kind of sprinkling in other episodes as I get a chance to as well. Yes. And so I got Jessica. Thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. I don't know why people want to pay her to listen to her talk about herself in her fantasy world. Read the rumors about them moving to New York. Yeah. I don't know why, because that one Young World Summit thing where she spent the whole time talking about herself. Can you imagine having spent, $3,000 per seat? Most of them $1,000 to $3,000 is kind of the estimates I've heard, to sit there and listen to a woman talk about herself for 7 minutes. I mean, it wasn't even that, she didn't even talk that long. I'm just like, Why would you pay for that? I feel so sorry for anybody who sat through that. And it wasn't, I just loved her quote. You're not just the future, you're the present. And she said it with such conviction as if she was saying something really deep. But think about it. Yes, they are present. They are present in the room. We are all present here on this live stream. Like, that's not groundbreaking. So I just don't know. I don't know why you would listen to her. I don't feel like you would just get much from listening to her chat. I don't feel like it. Oh, Jenny Walsh, thank you so much for the tip. I heard Harry and Meghan have been living apart and just show up at events together. Do you think there's any merit to that? Love Saturday morning with you. Oh, and I forgot to answer the other part of your question, Jessica. I heard the rumors about them moving to New York. I can see it. But also, the crime in New York is getting so bad. I wouldn't think you would want to. But again, Meghan's always chasing clout. So I wonder if she sees an opportunity there for some reason to kind of hang out in New York. I don't know, because you would think it's just so hard because it's like I feel like she wants to be followed by the paparazzi and she doesn't want to be followed by the paparazzi. She does and she doesn't. It's kind of confusing. So I'm not sure what exactly she's going to be doing with it, but I could see them moving. I feel like they way overspent. They got a house that's too big. It requires too much security. I feel like that house is a money pit. Harry said in their interview with The Cut, they were having plumbing issues. They were having issues with the pipes. And my parents had a big house once with those issues. And that's a pretty penny to get those kind of things fixed. And it sounded like Harry was trying to fix some of it himself, which bravo, he's learning some house skills, but still. And so Jenny, to get back to your question too, are they living apart and show up to events together? I could definitely see that. I've always been of the opinion that Harry and Meghan are they're so different. I feel like in a lot of ways they have, some childhood trauma related to each other in terms of, being children of divorce and those sorts of things. But I just don't feel like they have that much in common. So I feel like after a while, they say, basically the thing they've sold us on being that they have in common is their charitableness. And I feel like that's kind of good, but you also need things to do. Do you like doing the same things for fun? Well, Harry had to give up most of his fun activities to please Meghan. So they're doing most of the things Meghan thinks is fun and not Harry, because Harry likes to hunt and Meghan wasn't a fan. And so he gave up all his hunting rifles and all his hunting stuff to please her. And granted, you don't have to like everything your spouse does, but if my future spouse liked hunting, I'd be like, okay, honey, that's fine if you enjoy it. I just probably don't want to hear a ton about it. Like, don't show me the dead deer. I can't do that. I can't do that. So it's just, I don't know, it's just not hunting thing is not something I'm a huge fan of. But I feel like I could totally see them living separate lives and coming together and faking a lot of it because, again, Meghan just didn't seem to reference Harry that much in the Variety interview. Once people pointed that out, it was really true. And I just feel like she keeps talking about their love story. But I'm like, but are you more in love with the love story, the idea of what your love story is to you in your own head, or actually Harry and, your family? So Olivia asks, what are you up to this weekend, Brittany? Well, I think I'm going to, there's a movie thing locally that I think I'm going to be going to, which I think is exciting. They're showing an old, scary movie. And then we're mostly filming. Mostly filming because I got something special I want to do for Halloween. So I got to get that. Filmed in together. So I'll be filming and editing and doing all those fun things. So his photo on the Spare Me $1 novel, to me, he looks pathetic. Yeah, I feel like that picture is so close up. It's too close. I would not want that on my shelf, really. It just kind of, I don't know, it kind of weirds me out, but that may be just me. Okay, so just going through, of course, I'm really behind. So I'm always get so far behind. Okay, Princess Catherine looked amazing. The latest look, wide leg gancho pants. Yes, she did. So this is from M. Matthews. I love Kate's, her vintage Chanel that she wore about 2 weeks ago now, and the pants I just really, really liked. I love that she has some vintage stuff, and I really like it. The only thing I haven't liked of her vintage stuff so far is she has some sort of vintage Oscar de la Renta dress, which just looks very 80s to me, and I'm not a fan of 80s fashion, guys. I gotta say. Carmen says, good morning. Do you have a tiara? Time to wear one when you cover the show. I have to. I do not have a tiara. I do not. I do have a fascinator that I bought when I was in London for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Next year when I go, I plan on buying another because I just think they're so fun. I should have brought it. It's just hanging. It's like in the top of my closet, so I'd have to like climb up. I actually had to like strap it kind of on the front of my bag because it was so delicate and I had so much stuff. I didn't want it getting smushed in my checked baggage and everything. So I ended up I had 2 backpacks I carried everything on trying to get home. I managed to make it home though, but I had to like sit in front and like all tangled up in this thing, so it just wouldn't get smushed. And on one flight, I had like a free seat next to me, and so I strapped the little fascinator into the seat because I was dork. But it made it home and it looked great. Snow 167, and I got it for cheap too. So if you it was, I think John Lewis is where I got it. It was only about 50 or so, 45, 50 pounds, which I don't feel like is that bad. And it looks really good. So thank you so much, Snow167, for the tip. I think King Charles III should change their titles to Duke and Duchess of Windsor since Harry and Meghan take after Edward and Wallace. I think that is true. I was reading a biography on the Queen, and it was amazing how much the comparisons between Wallace and Edward and Harry and Meghan you can make. The difference, though, the crucial difference between the 2 couples, though, is that Edward was the king for about 9 months. Harry would never be the king. So Harry and Meghan do not have the same leverage as Wallace and Edward do. And I feel like Meghan really miscalculated that because she, I think, really thought they would have a lot more leverage to get things their way than they actually do. So I just think that's kind of funny that, she's... and the comparisons to Wallace Simpson, I think, are kind of funny. Although Wallace had impeccable taste and she looked great in a lot of things. You definitely can't take that away from her. The Ruffled Bunny asks, if by chance King Charles dies while Camilla is alive, what happens? Does William stay king or does Camilla stay queen consort? So William will automatically become king. So like most royal lines, although I would say there's some exceptions because Catherine the Great she actually married into the Romanov. She wasn't actually a Romanov. And so this is over in Russia. But that was a different time. Now it would be William would become king, Catherine would become queen. I don't know what Camilla's title would be. They may still refer to her as queen or they may downgrade her to princess. I'm not entirely sure. Because I know at least when it comes to the abdication in the Netherlands, which was a voluntary one, so Queen Beatrice became Princess Beatrice. However, Queen Sonia of Spain, I think it's Sophia of Spain. They still refer to her as Queen Sophia of Spain, even though she's not the reigning monarch. It's Queen Letizia. So I'm not entirely sure exactly how they'll handle it. I feel like William likes Camilla. I think he's accepted her. I think he's accepted her role in his father's life. So I don't know. Goodness gracious, I don't know how they would treat her, but I would imagine because she's a change in times, I could see Princess being used, Princess Camilla. But I could still see Queen Camilla being used because she's older than Charles, I believe. So she may, only live for a couple years after that. And, William's like, I don't care. My wife's Queen Catherine, because I don't think Charles will reign for a super long period of time. So I think William will be king quicker probably than he thinks. I could be totally wrong. Charles could reign maybe for another 25 years. That would push him, I believe, over 100 or close to it. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But, it could be as little as 5 to 10 years. It all depends on how healthy Charles is. Samantha asks, how do I find your email address? You can find it on my About page. I need to start putting in my description. But you can find it on my About page on my YouTube channel. I think the counselor's estate should be required to live in the UK. This is from Snow167. Yes, I do agree with that, especially when it comes to, especially right now. Paul asks, have Americans realized they are both frauds, Harry and Meghan? I think that's really starting to dawn on a lot of people. I feel like I mentioned this in a video, and I think it's still true that there used to be, there are 50 people in the middle who are probably like, either way. And they had 25 on either side that loved Harry and Meghan and 25% that hated Harry and Meghan. Well, I feel like the side that's growing more in the dislike is the dislike column. I think more and more people are moving from that middle section to dislike. And I think even the stands, some of the stands are moving from who are moving from like to more dislike. Because I feel like they've just alienated a lot of people because they just everything's a complaint and everything's just so hard. They're so hard. Everything's so hard from their $15 million mansion, guys. I mean, I live in this, the apartment's decent size, but it's an apartment. And I managed to do a lot, but would I like to live in a $15 million house where I could have like 3 rooms set up just to film? Yes, that would be so nice, but that's not my life right now. So what is the name of the music for your channel? Very catchy. I'll have to look and see again. I need to put it up technically on there probably. So I got it from Soundstripe, which is one of the kind of the royalty free services that you can subscribe to. And I really do like the sound. I can get stock footage from there too. So I really do enjoy that. So guys, so if you ever am interested in this, Judalyn says, did I make it to the live? I believe you did. I do believe you did. Nikki says, imagine insulting your job online, then expecting to stay employed and then reap the same benefits. Harry and Meghan are beyond entitled. This is from Nikki. I totally agree with that. They did not understand any of this. It's really sad. It's really sad because they're grown adults. They should understand this. They should really understand this. They are, yeah. I just do not understand Harry and Meghan at all. Blue Black asks, did anyone read Finding Freedom? I don't think it did very well. I don't think it did as well either. I think it probably sold pretty well. And I think Harry's memoir will technically sell pretty well, although some of the Sussex Standard is like, I bought the hard copy and the digital copy. And it's like, good for you. That was pointless, but bravo, I guess. So I don't know what people are thinking. Kids Irrelevant asked, do you think the king should wait for the book or remove the titles now so he doesn't appear defensive? I think he should go ahead. I mean, I think I think he should wait for the book because that may hopefully give him some more ammunition. And I feel like people would understand. It's like, especially, I think the thing Harry and Meghan may not understand is once you put something in print, it's much easier to go back and go, well, this is wrong, that is wrong. Because it's one thing to say it, because you could have a false memory about something, or you could be exaggerating something. But once it's on paper, that's a paper trail, and you can really push back against that in a much more deliberate way. And we've been told that Harry and Meghan, or at least Harry, has been inconsistent between what he said in the book and what he said on their reality TV show. And again, I could see that because they couldn't even agree on the same story in their interviews. So I feel like Harry and Meghan, or perhaps Harry or Meghan, I don't know, they can't keep up with their own BS. So when you start kind of telling things that aren't true after a while, if people tend to figure that out, if you just don't remember certain things. Laga Lamak said, I have 2 dogs. One is Yorkie, Lola, and the other is a chocolate Australian silky terrier, Peppa. Aww. I love dogs. Dogs are so fun. Ritz says, lately I've been doing tons of replays of when Meghan pushes her way in front of Harry to either be seen or greet someone. Says that. Yes, I have seen that too. It is very, very, it's very sad because it's like she just didn't appreciate that. And I think especially when they were in a country like Morocco and she barged in front of Harry to greet the king first. I mean, that is a diplomatic faux pas. For Meghan, who tells, I have a degree in international relations. It's like, well, then you should know that in a Muslim country, the man should always greet the monarch first. Not to mention the fact that Harry is actually the blood royal. So why are you barging ahead of him and meeting people? That's just so inappropriate and shows always to me such a lack of respect for Harry and his position in his family. Like that she just did not respect, did not care at all. Sharon asked, have you noticed Meghan is doing a lot more for herself within Harry? Without Harry, maybe? I have noticed that they, even that they didn't do the podcast together surprised me. That really did surprise me. So I'm like, I wonder, like, no, Jenny, whoever, made the tip, I think it was Jenny, mentioned it. It could be definitely that they're starting to lead separate lives, and that they're very different. So that they're becoming more and more separated, I think is definitely kind of a big issue. Um, Edie says, "Love your live chats. These are so fun." I'm so glad. You guys really seem to enjoy them, and I enjoy them too. And so I'm just glad we are able to do these every Saturday. And so thank you so much for watching. And so yes, who is behind me? So we ask and Matthew. So that is no, there we go. I had to do it there. So that is Bella. That's my sister's dog. My dog is in the dress on the floor. Come here. And the Marie Antoinette dress, which she's not a fan of, but she's super sweet. Yeah. She's like, can we please get this offending thing off of me? Kathy asks, when do you think they'll release updated photos of their children? Why are they holding out? Again, I feel like they're still waiting for this huge payday for their kids. And I don't know why. Because at this point, what I noticed when I was in the UK, and again, this was me in the UK, so I don't know how well in comparison they did in the States or whatever. But Lilibet's picture was not moving the sun. So I don't know why they're thinking they're just going to get this gigantic payday for their kids. I feel like the more they hide them, the less people care. After a while, people just don't care. And because seeing the Cambridge kids, or I guess the Wales's kids now, grow up, you get attached to them. And so you want to see more pictures. You want to see them grow and change. And there's no longer that incentive because we don't see the progression of Archie and Lilibet at their growth. And so do people care? No, I don't feel like people care. American Woman. Oh, thank you so much for the tip. I'm beginning to see the other genres of content creators talking about things Meghan Markle is saying in her podcast. A lot of tube and pop culture and even politics are talking about her. She's getting the attention she craves, even if it's negative. Yes, I would totally agree with that. She's getting a lot of negative attention. The attention is turning more and more negative. And forgive me, I'm maybe not remembering this right. I just thought it was interesting that somebody was, I think it was that Charles Boozy guy or whatever on Twitter, who I've managed to stay out of his eyesight a bit. But he mentioned that, Megyn Kelly started doing segments on Meghan and they get a lot of attention. And he's like, he was frustrated, because all the attention always towards Meghan is negative. And it's like, yeah, but that's what sells about her now. That is what, I don't know, even if you could switch the attention to being positive, it's pretty much almost always all negative. Her self-promotion, sure, it's positive, and she gets still positive attention from the media to a certain extent, but it's the negative stories that get a lot more traction. So she's just created this public image where people see her in a very negative light. And so they crave the negative stories. And I feel like as well, because she is, especially when it came to like the birth of Archie, was so inconsistent about, she was in labor when she had already been given birth. That's what they told people. And so I feel like Harry and Meghan have created this thing where people look for the controversy because they've created that themselves. And I think Meghan thought it would help create mystery and sale and those sorts of things. But you actually do that more by staying quiet rather than over talking, trying to play cloak and dagger games. I feel like just that cloak and daggerness that Harry and Meghan seem to thrive upon, I think it only raises people's hackles and only raises people looking at them going, okay, what are you doing? I know something's wrong here. I know there's X, Y, and Z. I need to address this and yada, yada, yada. And so I feel like it's backfired massively on them, in my opinion. I think that's something that they just should have been straight, because I think now people look for the controversy, and that's what they've centered their brand around, whether they anticipated that or not, is people just generally don't like them. Cassandra asked, do you think they'll get divorced? I always gave them 5 years. I think I could see that extended now because they live in California and Harry's now so separated from his family. And if he goes back, he has to admit that it was all a massive mistake. And I think that'll be really hard for him. I mean, it would be hard for any man to publicly admit you were swindled. I think that would be really hard for any guy. So I could see them lasting a little longer, but it'll be interesting to see if there are kids involved. So I think divorce in any situation, especially when they're children, that's a sad thing. But at the same time, they've created this very isolating world, and I feel like that's not really healthy for any of them. MAPG says, I can't believe I woke up on time at 7 a.m. in British Columbia. Oh, yes, that is early. Thank you so much for waking up. I hope this has been good. Beach Rando, thank you so much for the tip. Love the channel. Wish you would do a celebrity fashion channel too. The fashion channel is fun to watch. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you enjoyed that. I love fashion. And I remember certain looks that I have that I love, even if they're really, really old. One of my favorite red carpet looks ever, I would say, is Jennifer Aniston in I want to say it was like the either 2000, 2001 Golden Globes. She wore a Chanel dress. It was very, very pretty. So that would be fun. Maybe I'll branch out on that at some point, but not quite yet. But I think that would be fun too. Because I actually started on YouTube in 2021 with a fashion channel, but it didn't do well at all. I think at the most I had 7 subscribers, and one of them was me, one of them was my sister, one of them was my mother. So it did not do it did not do well at all. Markian-esque says, my recent thought about Harry's behavior is that he may have inherited some of Diana's mental illness. What do you think? I would see that. So I think Diana suffered a bit, people have said somewhat, maybe borderline personality or bipolar or something. And I could definitely see that. She could be quite nasty sometimes to people, and she could be very dismissive of them. So if she decided she didn't want to be your friend, she could, very much like Meghan, just completely cut you off. So not that she wasn't a lovely person, but she had her challenges, and she was difficult, I think. And I feel like William understood that. And so that's why he married somebody who's in many ways the antithesis of his mother. She represents kind of her best qualities, and I think that Catherine is an amazing mom. But William did not marry a woman who exhibited his mother's worst qualities, which were some of her kind of inconsistencies, and she could be in a very emotional state and those sorts of things. So I feel like William chose the antithesis, whereas Harry actually chose somebody who represents his mother's worst qualities. She doesn't even have her best mixed in. She has Diana's worst qualities without the empathy, without the great compassion that Diana had. Meghan exhibits all the worst traits. So I feel like so he's desperate for that mother figure. So but I feel like Harry would have benefited very much from what Tom Bower said William did, which I do believe, because it makes sense to me, is that William went on a fact-finding tour because he wanted to know more about his mom. And he wanted to know more about her as a person, and I think understand her flaws and her attributes, rather than just believing this media concoction of her. Because sometimes when Harry talks about his mom, I almost feel like especially around his mom's death and everything, sometimes I'm like, oh, so you listen to the media about this. I'm like, but I don't think all of that is necessarily true. So I just get the impression he just really, and I think the more time goes on, the more time he spends with Meghan, the more he identifies with the media version of Diana rather than who she actually was. Tigri says, hi, Brittany. Why do you think Eugenie and Beatrice act like they are better than William? They have always known he would one day be king. I don't think they've acted better than him. I think they've done, really well. I think they've been very respectful of the institution. I feel like especially Beatrice, I believe, has a degree in history, and she wore one of her grandmother's old dresses. So I feel like she has very much a respect for the royal tradition and the royal heritage and just the family and everything. So I feel like, I don't know, I have a soft spot for Beatrice. I especially loved it when she started to cry at her grandfather's service of Thanksgiving. So the Queen came to it. This was held in March this year. So it was kind of a larger gathering they could have with other monarchs in Europe after Prince Philip's death. And she just saw her grandmother walked in and just kind of burst into tears. And I just thought, I just had a soft spot for her because I just think that's really sweet. I think she really genuinely cares for her family and her family's history and heritage, which Harry does not, because he should have gone to that and he stayed home. Why? No idea. Debbie Hibben asked, do you think Harry realizes how much Meghan lies? Would love to hear your opinion. I get the impression that yes, I think he does realize she's not telling the whole truth sometimes. Because I wonder, so this is just my theory. So this is when Meghan obviously they were on the Oprah Winfrey interview, and Meghan made the statement that she believes she says she was suicidal and everything. And Harry says he didn't really tell anyone. And he says he wasn't, kind of embarrassed. And I could definitely kind of see that. That would, especially as a guy who's supposedly a mental health expert, I could see why he would be, embarrassed that he feels like he can't, protect his wife or whatever. But what I wonder too is if he knew that she probably wasn't ever going to do it, that it was really an empty threat. And it was a maybe tactic that she had used before, because she's used kind of threats against him. Like, I will dump you if you don't release a statement telling me, everyone, not only am I your girlfriend, but you're serious about me. If you don't put that out, I'm going to dump you this instant. So I feel like Harry's aware sometimes that she says some things that aren't necessarily true. And I think looking at the Oprah Winfrey interview as well, especially when it comes to the allegations about the racist comments, they have two different stories about that. Meghan says it was many times while she was pregnant, and Harry says it was once when they initially started dating. So it's like, well, which is it? That, she said it was surprising, but I think that she completely changed the story. And I always wonder too, is did they not get their story straight about this? How did Meghan conflate this into this long discussion that happened multiple times while she was pregnant, when Harry maybe said it happened one time when they initially started dating? I just do not understand that in the slightest. So I think he is aware of it. And I think it's something that he's I think it's something that, probably does nod him a bit. Because at a certain point, the facade that Meghan creates, it has to crumble, it has to crack. There's just no way it can't. Diane Claire asked, Jet Set rumored to be buying H&M home over cost. Is that a PR stunt? Jet Set rumored to be buying, I don't know if I totally understand the question. But I feel like, oh, okay, I see. I don't know if somebody else would be buying Harry and Meghan's home over cost. I could maybe see it. I don't feel like them living there really increases the house's value all that much, because other people are going to look at it and go, well, the whole world now knows exactly what that house looks like. They all know exactly where that is. Why would I buy a house where everybody knows exactly where that is? Because if you're a normal celebrity, you want privacy, or you're a billionaire and you want privacy, the last thing you want to do is buy a house that's famously associated with somebody else. But if Jet Set, I'm not sure what kind of company they are, but if they are perhaps a company that, rents houses or, needs houses for a particular reason or whatever, I could see them that maybe being somewhat of a benefit, but I'm not sure exactly as well. Oh, Fatima, thank you so much for the super sticker. I'm going back through here a bit because I don't always see everything. Or sometimes it just doesn't pop up in my upper feed like it should. So I do apologize for that. If I missed anything, so he says, you need to stay out of Boozy's eye. I do try to stay. I try to be, fair and not go too far into the kind of the negative angle. And I'm trying to get to the point too. It's like, I'd like to request press credentials for Catherine and Williams event in December. So if you guys haven't, if there's anybody on this stream right now that hasn't subscribed, please do. Cause I think the bigger my numbers are, the more chances I have. If I request, I may actually get a yes to something. So I would be really thrilled about that. Cause I think that would be great to get kind of maybe not behind the scenes that much, because I feel like it sounds like they'll be pretty restricted, but I'm hoping to get, maybe they'll do some sort of official event somewhere and I'll be there for a couple of days in Boston. So my plan is to try to get whatever I can while they're there. SC Swap Asks, Brittany, have you heard about the Meghan's DNA claim she is 43% Nigerian? What is your reaction to this? Another Meghan truth. I would love to know what the other 57% is. And honestly, okay, so this is something weird. So my dad did a DNA test with Ancestry, and it said he was, I think, 0.5 or 1% from Cameroon. And we were all like, or at least I was, because I'm a nerd about this stuff. Because I actually did through his whole, he was adopted at birth. So I went back through and did his whole ancestry on his mother's side. And I was just like super fascinated. I was like, who is this person? Who is this person who gave us this little, 5%, 1% from Cameroon? I would like the Cameroon region. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to know your story. I would love to know who that is. I would love to know how that got in the line. I was just so excited and so interested. And then they updated the ancestry thing and it went away. It eventually went away. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I was a little sad about that. I was really sad because I was so excited. I just thought that was so cool. Because I was like, I'm just as pale as, can be. So I just thought that would be really cool. And I'd just love to know how the family connection was made there. But apparently it's not really there. So I cannot say the veracity of her claim. I'm not totally sure I buy it, but that's just my personal opinion. And, honestly, I can't say, I really can't, but I would love to know what the other 57% is. And if she's donating anything else to a charity that represents the 57% of her DNA that apparently she didn't mention. So does she care about that or not? But anyways, yeah, Meghan, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Grandma 114 asked, what do you think the Queen left Harry and his kids? I don't think much. I doubt much. She may have left them some money, but the Queen is rich, but I don't think not as rich as some people would think, because she does have the Duchy of Lancaster, but she did have to divide it out to her children to help fund their lives because they were living off her. In addition to that, the Duchy of Cornwall, which William now has and Charles had before him, actually generates more money than the Duchy of Lancaster does. So the Queen's not as rolling in dough, I think, as people would be led to believe. In addition to that, if she was smart, she left pretty much all her possessions to this crown, because if you leave it to the crown, it doesn't get hit with inheritance taxes. Therefore, you can keep the collections together. That's why, because if every monarch died and the whole monarchy was hit with inheritance taxes, there would be no tiaras, there'd be no furniture, there'd be no jewelries, because those physical tangible items are worth so much. They would not have the cash, the capital to actually pay off the inheritance tax without depleting their cultural collections, which is why I believe that aristocratic families or families with possessions like that, where their wealth is more established in physical items and history and culture and heritage rather than cold hard cash. I feel like there should be a protection for those items, because if they get hit with inheritance taxes, then they have to sell off various items that their family has collected literally over centuries in order to pay for these things. And therefore, the cultural heritage of the UK is auctioned off to other people in other countries and continents. To me, that's just silly. That's just silly. So I don't feel like Harry and Meghan got left. I would doubt they got left any jewelry. I would doubt they got really left much of anything. They may have gotten some cash, maybe something small. But I mean, the Queen only gave Meghan one pair of kind of rinky-dink earrings. I imagine they are very nice and they're very well sourced and everything. So they're not like, cheap things from Claire's or something. But I doubt those earrings cost more than, I would say at the most, $2,000. I would say, I could even see those earrings, had a big pearl and a diamond going for $1,000 to $2,000, I would say, somewhere in that range. But, a lot of her necklaces are worth like, probably millions, if not millions of dollars. So I don't feel like, I don't think Meghan got left any of that. I don't think we'll ever see her in anything like that in the slightest. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that on Meghan. And I don't think she'll leave anything for the coronation. I don't think she'll wear a tiara or anything like that. I think they'll do kind of the slim down version. I feel like Harry and Meghan, if they are there, depending on how bad the book is, they will be in the sidelines. She'll be wearing a hat, but that's it. But again, sorry, that was a long thing to say. I don't think Harry and Meghan got left much. I don't think their kids got left much, because we got to think too, Meghan didn't even get lent any jewelry from the main line after her wedding. They always knew she was going to be trouble. They didn't lend her anything. They should, and thankfully they didn't buy her a tiara, so she can't keep that. She got given some jewelry for sure. She got given her blood diamonds from Saudi Arabia, which she can't wear anymore, which I think is hysterical, because everybody will go, oh, the blood diamonds. She can't wear those anymore. So I think that's kind of funny. But I mean, because they're stunning pieces, and not gonna lie, I would love to have them, but the political consternation surrounding them, I feel like it's difficult. So, but I don't think they got left anything. Lori asks, do you live in the US? I do. Kenzie asks, do they have children? Very vain, self-indulged couple. Yes, I would say, oh my gosh, we never see their kids out and about. Where are Archie and Lilibet? I do believe the kids exist. I believe that Meghan had them, but where are they? Do they not go anywhere with their parents? Those poor children, are they like captives in their Montecito mansion? It seemed like Meghan had the nannies go on most of the school runs for Archie, and that she kind of showed up to kind of show the cut. I was like, oh, I'm a mom. I do the mom things. But it was like, I'm like, dude, do you guys ever go out with your kids? Like, those polo games would have been a great chance to take the kids. Like, we never see them out with their children. And not to be rude, but why? Unless you're just like really worried about having a toddler meltdown and having no recourse for that. Because I always kind of wanted Meghan to be a kind of, I wanted to see Meghan with Archie on a tour and have him have a massive meltdown, toddler meltdown, and her have no clue what to do. I really was hoping that would happen, because Catherine defused a toddler tantrum on a tarmac in Germany in front of the world's cameras when it came to Charlotte. So, and Charlotte, had a little bit of a crying moment on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, and Catherine shut those down pretty quickly both times. She was able to kind of manage those. And, we obviously saw a lot of, rowdy behavior from Louis at the Platinum Jubilee, but I feel like Catherine, again, handled it very, very well and didn't get really mad or didn't react, have this, stern reaction. You could tell she was tense and she was frustrated by his behavior, but she was not somebody who was like, she was not having a meltdown herself because she couldn't handle her own child's meltdown. She was very much, in control, managing her own reaction in addition to his. Whereas I would feel like we would see Meghan start to, Meghan and the kids in tandem both start to have a little bit of a meltdown in some way or another. But that would just be me. Maybe that's me. That's me. Jess, aka SBD Girl 88. Thank you so much for the tip. You are so kind. Are Harry and Meghan trying to copy Victoria's mom and isolate them so she can control how the kids will think? That could definitely be true. I could entirely see that. I don't think they want anybody associating with the kids. And I don't feel like they want the kids to have any outside influence. So this is the crown. This is Harry's family, his cousins. I mean, we've seen the Wales' kids interact with Zara Phillips and Mike Tyndall, their kids. We've seen them hang out with Autumn Phillips and her kids, with Peter Phillips. And they're all very close. They were all hanging all over each other at the Jubilee. So those kids spend a lot of time together. You can tell they are friends. And that's the great thing about being in aristocratic circles, is that they're very protective of their own. So all those kids, all those royal kids have places where they can go and they can be kids, and nobody's going to judge them or anything like that. And they'll all be protected and they're all good friends. I don't feel like Archie and Lily, I don't feel like they have that. I mean, I don't know what those poor kids do all day. I mean, I do genuinely feel sorry for them. I feel really sorry for them. Oh, Nancy Miner gave a super sticker. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're so kind. Oh, Disfan said as well, love your video on the famous bathtub tiara worn by Princess Margaret on the other channel. Yes, I love that image. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, that's such a boss to be wearing a tiara in the bathtub. I feel like is absolutely, absolutely fantastic. So if you don't know Margaret, it's the Baltimore tiara that she has. She actually, her hair is up in a beehive, and she was probably going to some event earlier in the day or had gone or she was getting ready or something. She's literally laying in the tub and she has a tiara on and her husband took a picture. So look for, you can just Google Princess Margaret in the bathtub with a tiara. That's a funny game of Clue right there. So anyways, so I'm just looking through here. We'll probably wrap up here, guys, in a couple of minutes, but just seeing if I miss any questions. If you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So sorry if I missed them or missed anything. So Neffy for super sticker, Neffy 12, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super sticker. You were so kind. I'm so sorry, guys, if I missed anything. I do use this kind of platform that helps me manage the streams a bit better. And sometimes it doesn't pop. It's supposed to push things up to the top. And sometimes it doesn't always do that. So I apologize if I've missed anyone or anything. Becky says, I think Meghan thinks the king wants to kidnap her children because they technically belong to the crown. That is true. I think that does worry her. And not that they would kidnap the kids, because obviously I don't think they would do that in the slightest. But I do feel like Charles is, she's worried about losing control of the kids. She's worried about losing control of Harry. That's why she doesn't want him to go places without her, with his family, because she doesn't want him to get influenced by anyone. Oh, Katie, thank you so much for the tip. Harry and Meghan will never get a penny from me, but you are worth it. Oh, thank you. So much more, but it's the best I can do. Oh, I love your unscripted videos. Great job. Thank you so much, Katie. You are so kind. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys, for, coming on these. I was, I tried it out a couple of times and people really seemed to like it. And so I'm like, I just really love this. I just think it's fun to kind of create a community. And it's like, because I watch sometimes some of the kind of more channels related to like talking about, kind of the Marvel films and Star Wars and stuff like that, because it's been interesting to see Hollywood implode over these last couple of years. And I was like, and they do a lot of live streams. So it's like, we're royal watchers. We're fans of just something different. So let's do live streams because that's fun, I think. Cindy asked, where do you get the super stickers? I think they're in the chat option somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry to say, I don't actually know. Brittany, for clarification, Josh King Madrid is known as Jet Set. I have no clue who that is either. A self-made millionaire. Thank you, Diane, for clarifying that. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure who that was. But I'm out of the loop on some things. Did you watch Psycho for Halloween? Not yet, John. I have not watched Psycho yet. That is, guys, the quintessential, like, it's so good. It's so good. I love watching, do you watch some of the old time Hollywood movies? You're like, oh, why can't they do that anymore? Because it's so simple and so, so effective. And that movie is brilliant in so many ways. So Belle says, thank you so much for the tip. Hi, Brittany. With your interest in all things royal in the UK, would you consider living in the UK? We would love to have you. We would be happy to have you. Oh, I love the live chats. Thank you. I've actually thought about it. I've considered that, or maybe spending part of the year there or somewhere else in Europe. Because what I'd like to do, and I have some video content for this, but I just haven't had a chance to get it together yet, is, doing video content from various, palaces and castles throughout Europe and pulling some of those together and coming up with something really fun. And because I love that so much. And there's just so many amazing castles and even just castle ruins that I think would be definitely worth checking out, and so many gorgeous buildings. And I would actually really love it. I've spent about 3 months in Scotland before. And so I've kind of debated it maybe for next year, but we shall see, because obviously that's kind of a big change. And it's kind of weird because I don't know what kind of visa I would get, because I would probably have to get a visa of some sort, especially if there was an opportunity that came up. So to like work for somebody or like do a presentation or show or something in the UK. So, and be paid by the UK, I would have to get some sort of visa, I think. So that would be a bit complex, but I've definitely thought about it, because I would love to be able to have even more kind of news on this channel and be able to like provide my own, kind of coverage of video and pictures and stuff better than I can. I have a pretty good camera, but I need to get a better camera and get better pictures and stuff, but it's all a work in progress. Oh, Cindy, thank you so much for the super sticker. You are so kind. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I just appreciate all you guys so much. And I just think this is just always such fun. It's just amazing to be on this channel with you guys, and just I love that you guys chat among yourselves too. I think that's wonderful, because it's great to build a little community. And I just think royals are fun, so I'm glad other people think they're fun too. Can you please do a video on the impact the Royal Foundation has? Yes, I can definitely do that. I have a list. I feel like my list is never ending, and I wish I had more time, but hopefully, it'd be great to go full time sometime soon. But I'm waiting for a little bit here, and because I just do love this. There's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do, and Chantal asked, so I'm just going to look at the last couple of questions here. Has there already been any information on the coronation for William as Prince of Wales back at the Carnarvon Castle? So I have heard it's going to be a very small, low-key coronation. Whatever they do will not be like what Charles had, which I'm a little bummed about. Not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. So Gift Spark says, Sandra, that version of Psycho was good, but they totally copied the original in every single camera angle. Only difference was it was color. So yeah, there's two versions of Psycho. One was made in the 90s with Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche. Watch the original one in black and white. You will not be disappointed at all. So brilliant video. Oh, thank you, Shez. John Alvarez, thank you for sharing. Thanks. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Kim, yeah, so guys, I will go ahead. Oh, do you watch American Viscountess Castle TV show? Okay, that's a great question. I've actually thought about maybe chatting with her sometime. I thought that would be really cool. Yes, I have watched some of her stuff, and I would be really interested in chatting with her more. And so that would be definitely something, because I've thought too about kind of a list of maybe people I would try to. I may do like a pre-coronation trip and see if I can find people to interview. That would be awesome. I would love to do that. So we'll see if that happens. Kristen asks, would you ever consider a subscriber call-ins or contributions on the live, call-ins or live? I have actually thought about that, kind of trying to figure out what to do, but I would probably need to work on figuring out something that would work pretty well. Please, more information on what kind of relationship Harry has with the Spencer side of the family. Yes, that would definitely be something to look into as well, because I feel like Harry says he's very close, and then I kind of wonder. He's closer to his aunts, I think, than his uncle Charles. But Charles is also one of the ones that said, I'm not so sure about Meghan. So I don't think Harry appreciated anybody who had any negative thoughts about Meghan. And honestly, which is sad, because I think everybody was mostly had his best. They had the best things on their mind. They really were trying to help him. They were really they had the best intentions. That's what I should say. That's what I'm looking for. Azuma says, thank you for doing live. Great content. Thank you. Lovely eyes, Jeannie. Oh, thank you so much. Cindy Lee, just love hearing your thoughtful insights every Saturday morning, and look forward to every one of your videos on both channels. Have a good week and see you next week. Oh, thank you so much. Brittany, do you have a bachelor's and master's in history? This is from Seneca. I really enjoy how you break everything down. You must have a good education. Keep up the great work. Yes, I do, actually. I have bachelor's and master's in history. I love history so much. It is my favorite thing. And I wish I had time all day to just read history and watch like documentaries all day. That would probably be what I do. But yeah, what first got me interested in history was the Holocaust. I was just super fascinated why anybody could do something that horrible to other people. So I've kind of debated if I went on and got my PhD, would I study Nazi policy? Because that's somewhat what I lean towards, because that really fascinates me. Or, now since I have this channel and everything, focusing on something related to royalty, because that has also fascinated me. Because I've read a couple books on the Italians and all their infighting in like the Renaissance era and stuff. And I found that really fascinating, because did you know, and we'll maybe leave on this right here, that Leonardo da Vinci, Niccolo Machiavelli, and Cesar Borgia were all friends. They were friends, and they traveled together for like 2 years. Now, if you don't know who, most people know who Leonardo da Vinci is. He's a famous painter inventor. And then Cesar Borgia was the alleged son of the Pope, although I read a book that gave a pretty good argument that he's not. And he conquered a good chunk of Italy, which was made up of little states. The collective, the single country of Italy that we know today was created in the 1800s. So he conquered a lot of that, and he was the inspiration for Machiavelli's The Prince. So Machiavelli obviously has influenced, Machiavellianism and those sorts of things. So anyways, I thought that was really interesting. So maybe that's your little history tip of the day. Yes, and I love Lori says I read a ton of history books. I pretty much always only read history books. I don't read a ton of fiction, honestly. I read a lot of history. That's my favorite thing to read. So yes. So yes, okay, guys. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I so look forward to it. Okay, this is a history question, so I gotta answer. Hey, do you think the movie The Man in the Iron Mask is that a true story? I don't know a ton about that era. I think that was around the time of Louis XIV, or at least they put that in Versailles. But I didn't read that in the book I read though about Louis XIV. I don't think that was in that book. I read a biography about Louis XIV, which was good. And I'm pretty sure they didn't mention the mask, the man in the iron mask. So there always could be some things that are true and some things that are not, but that's the fun of history. History is so fun. So fun. So Cindy, thank you so much for the super sticker. This channel keeps me sane in the news stream around Harry and Meghan. That was from Christina. Thank you guys so much. Asma asked real quick, is there a disclaimer for the crown? It's been debated. I don't know if it'll be officially there yet. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Saturdays, whether morning, evening, afternoon. I just so appreciate it, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon. And right after this, I'll be working on getting my fashion video for today up. I just gotta do a couple things for it real quick. But Crystal did ask, are you getting an early copy of the book? I don't think so. I don't think they'll probably give a lot of early copies of Harry's book to people. That would be my guess. So that one, except for a couple people, they want to publish it. So just FYI. Oh, Doopy in California. Oh, thank you so much for the super sticker. You are so kind. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate it, guys. I'm just so glad I get to be here with you guys every Saturday morning. And I look forward to seeing you again, guys, so soon. All right. See you later. Bye.